What is the best high yield savings account for you to store your money? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where we park our money. My name is Darius.
And I'm Carmen. Drum roll, please. There is no best high yield savings account these days, at least in the year of 2022 in which we are in. Because of inflation and because of the market where we are, interest rates are at an all-time low, and there's really just no savings account, high yield savings account that's competitive enough for you to keep up with any sort of inflation.
Right, because in order for us to keep up with inflation, we almost need a savings account that earns double-digit returns. And how many savings account do you know offer double-digit returns? There isn't many. So when it comes to high-yield savings account, the only thing you should be saving is your emergency fund. Outside of that, you should be investing that money to make more money because inflation is eating all of us alive.
And that's like literally and figuratively, like however you want to apply that, that's exactly what inflation is doing. So we want to, again, make sure that our viewers and our amazing subscribers understand that just because you have your money in a savings account and the bank is titling it a high yield savings account, there's nothing that's really going to help you at this point. Now, correct us if we're wrong. If you know one that is, again, receiving double digit returns or anywhere north of 7%, please comment below and let us know where that is. But up to this point, the average we're seeing might be 1%.
Right. We were actually going to do this video some time ago, but we just couldn't find any high yield savings account that was keeping up with inflation.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
We were like, do we do the video or not? We're like, no, the spoiler alert is there's none. We couldn't even find one to share with you guys. But I think on the flip side, the interesting thing that we need to talk about is where then do we put our money so that we can earn more money?
Right. We need to be able to invest our money because that's the only way we'll be able to create double digits returns so that we can even keep up with inflation. The name of the game is not to just park your money and let it sit there and you'll automatically earn money.
Yeah.
Yes, your money a compound over time, but what you have to really think about is where we are as far as inflation. Mm-hmm. And the name of the game is to keep up with inflation.
Mm-hmm. So let's break this down in a few different ways. So Darius and I still put our money into whole life insurance policies because at the bare minimum, we need to earn something. And that's because, going back to Darius's point, we only keep the opportunity fund, or many people talk about it as an emergency fund, in the bank, meaning we keep as little money in the bank as possible because every single dollar you have in the bank, you're literally losing money.
Right.
And so we understand that we don't want to keep our money in the bank at all because it's not giving us anything. And there's no meat on the bone. In order for us to figure out how to make every dollar count, we first put it inside a whole life insurance policy. So that way we can earn a minimum rate of return. And then from there, we take our money and then invest it in something that's giving us double digit returns. And that's all about making sure that you're investing in things that appreciate, that earn money, and not depreciate.
Right. And the nice thing about life insurance policies is the fact that the interest that you earn adjusts along with inflation or the cost of money. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it doesn't happen overnight. So what we have to do in the meantime is we have to take matters into our own hand and we have to borrow money from our life insurance policy to invest. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about that is the money that we put back into our policy, we already paid taxes on it, so we don't have to pay capital gain taxes on the difference that we put into our policy.
And I think the other thing too is one thing that we don't talk about is talk about keeping up with inflation. How about that death benefit? If something were to happen to any member of your family and they have a significant death benefit, already that's a cheat code for your family to get ahead because you should then take that death benefit and apply it in more investments so that you can get your family ahead of the game and help the next generations. Whereas sometimes we only plan for burial expenses, for example, and that's just going to cut the cream at the top of the milk. And then what else are we doing? Having a plan for your family and understanding how that plan is going to benefit the family long term, because inflation is going to hit everybody, right? It's going to hit the children, the grandchildren, the grandparents. So what are you doing and what assets are you creating inside of your sphere to make sure that everyone comes up?
Yeah, and it's interesting. What came to my mind when you said that it's going to hit everybody is inflation isn't going to hit everybody. It's going to hit the people that don't have assets that allow allow them to keep up with inflation.
Okay.
And by storing our money inside of a savings account, a high yield savings account, and we're not keeping up with inflation, especially if the majority of our funds are there, we're going to have a big problem.
Yeah.
All of our money is sitting inside a high yield savings account.
So definitely click on the link below if you would like to learn how Darius and I utilize whole life insurance policies to invest. Now, what I want to make sure that we talk about with this subject, when people think about putting their money inside high yield savings accounts, it's with the intent to let their money sit.
Right.
It's with the intent to not do anything, which is already a problem, for lack of a better term, to begin with. Because if we want to have a sound retirement, if we want to at some point walk away from our jobs and have an amazing life, when we're talking about high yield savings accounts or we're talking about retirement accounts at the same time, it's not something that we can just set and forget. And we want to make sure that you understand that, especially now in this environment. But before, maybe you could set it, forget it, but now you can no longer do that. And I hope you guys hear us loud and clear, because if you do that, you're going to be working for the rest of your life, because you're not going to be able to keep up with inflation. Every dollar that you make is not making enough money to keep up with tomorrow. So compound that a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. If the dollar that you made today does not make interest, you're in trouble.
Right. Or it may make interest, but it not be enough. And what I like something that you said is the fact that we want to set it and forget it. There's no place we can put our money comfortably where we can set it and forget it. And with the research that I've done for this video in particular, one of the advertisement for high yield savings account is an emergency fund. Emergency funds is one of those things that we say you're supposed to have funds available in the event of emergency and in the event that you lose your job. So 6 to 12 months of savings. Where are we putting 6 to 12 months of savings? Don't have to continuously put money into it because of the fact that inflation, not annually or not every 5 years, inflation is going up significantly every single month. And sitting our money inside of a savings account and forgetting about it does not do anything for us. What we have to do is we have to get on the offensive and we have to actually go out and do something about it. You may not be able to do something about it tomorrow, but you can start the research or start the investigation of what you can do with your money. We just did a video recently, we're going to link it here, where we talk about different asset classes that we're using to invest our money so that we can at least keep up with inflation so we can get double-digit returns. What it works for us may not necessarily work for you. That's why it's important for you to invest in something that you understand initially so that you can become an expert in a particular investment class so that you can start earning these double-digit returns, because sitting your money anywhere and forgetting about it will not cut it in 2022.
Yeah, and I think for me, since I'm a visual person and for all my visual peeps out there, like think about, have you ever been to a beach and you can see like the erosion protection that's happening where they may put boulders up, and put all sorts of stones together to keep the tide. Do you have anything like that for your money?
Yeah.
For erosion protection for 20 years when you look in your bank account and the 20 grand can't buy you a tire for your car? I mean, what erosion protection do you have in place right now to know that I have these big boulders in place that are going to protect me when the tide comes and washes away my house?
Right. Doing nothing is the worst thing you could do. By doing something, you're learning as you go. That's better than not doing anything and having no clue. And you're going to look in your bank account and yes, the money's there, but it doesn't buy you the same thing 10 years from now or next year. It doesn't buy you the same thing that it could buy you today.
Yeah. And I think that the perspective to share with you is like when you think about retirement, a lot of times people think that if I retire with 7 figures in the bank, I'm going to be able to retire with a lot of money. But 7 figures in the bank for me right now at my age, if I go to retire at 65, which is about 30 years from now, $1 million in the bank is going to be worth a lot less money. So sometimes we just plan for a number and not understand how that number is going to act in a high inflation environment nor a high taxation environment. And when it comes to retirement, let's say I go 30 years from now and do absolutely nothing, that $1 million I may have in the bank at that time of 65, that $1 million may be worth $700,000 or may even be $600,000. And then on top of that, I have to pay taxes. I may have to pay a few $100,000 in taxes. So now I'm left with, let's call it maybe $500,000 or $300,000 that I'm expected to live off of for the rest of my life. And that's why so many people get to the age of retirement and realize, oh my goodness, I have to continue working because I can no longer afford afford for this to happen. And I'm sharing this context with you is because that is going to happen if you don't do anything about it because of where we are today in our society.
Right. And one thing, since we're talking about retirement, on the topic of retirement, a lot of times what we think we can do is we can create a nest egg and we can build up this mound of money and we can use it to live off of until our final days. Right. But with inflation the way it is, that nest egg that we have sitting there, you are not only losing money from the top, but you're also losing money from the bottom because of inflation. So that's one thing to take into consideration is when, even if you're retiring next year or if you're retiring now, if you have a nest egg, you have to actually start working towards a cash flow type of retirement system, because you constantly need money coming into your system. And if you're only using your nest egg to have money come out to take care of your lifestyle, there's money coming out of the bottom too. There's literally money leaking out of the bottom because of inflation.
So with this information, again, the title is a high yield savings account, but the point is for you to understand there is no system right now or product that we can find that is going to help you keep up with inflation. And the only thing that is going to keep up with inflation is actually your desire to keep up with inflation, right?
You have to be intentional.
Let's not even talking about investments. Like, right, well, I don't want to sit here and tell people to invest, because if you have no desire to invest, like I can't even think of the word to explain how much trouble you're in. Your desire to keep up with inflation, your desire to live a specific lifestyle, or like we always say on our channel, own your own lifestyle, is going to be compromised if you do nothing about it.
Right.
And let like everything, all the sirens and everything flash. Like, this isn't a game anymore, folks. You know, before when we were talking, a year ago, 6 months ago, when we were like, this is amazing, all of these things that we're doing, it is game time. And if you are not willing to invest in your financial education, I don't know where you'll be next year or 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Right. Well, if we think about, let's say inflation's at 7%, it only takes 11, 12 years for us to, the money that we have sitting there, for it to not really be there. Worth. Not really be worth anything compared to what it is now. So it's not a necessarily a desire you need to have. It's a necessity for you to not only to work for your money, but to also be in the business of having your money work for you.
Yeah. And that's essentially what I'm saying. Like, with the point of making sure that you have to be willing to be proactive, because you can't assume with these financial products, with even in the industry, you can't assume that somebody's going to care about your money more than you. So you have to be just as diligent in understanding how your money is going to be making money, and watching it and tracking it and making sure that it's actually happening.
When it comes to the best high yield savings account that you can have for your money, there doesn't exist a savings account for that, because of where inflation is right now. What you have to do is you have to have the desire, you have to roll your sleeves up, and you have to get in there and do the work for your money. Because like Carmen said, there's nobody that's going to treat your money better than you will. So what you have to do is you have to get in there and do the work and make sure that your money is making money.
Now, if you want to get in the driver's seat, ladies and gentlemen, and start learning how this money game works, I want you to click on our next video, which is our masterclass, where we lay out the ground rules for this money game so that you can take this knowledge and now apply it to invest. So go ahead and click on our next video.
And remember to own your own lifestyle,
or someone else will.